You're live. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're live this Monday, the 20th of October. And taking your calls this Hot Bud Monday, 1-877-532-5797. And you can go on the message board. And we're up and running, and we were getting some glitches out. But Mayor Rodney Jones, I see you saying we're back. Yep, we got the message board up, and you can watch me live as we do the show. He says, good afternoon, my shepherd. Well, good afternoon to you. Glad to see you at the rally Saturday, Mr. Mayor. And Janet overall saying good afternoon, welcome. To you, democracy.fun says, thank God we're back in action. We're in action, democracy.fun, and also known as Disco Brian. So you, our man, and O.J. Kelly saying there he is, our fearless minister of social justice. Let me say, by way of announcements, don't forget to watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton every Saturday and Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MSNBC. I had on the members of the Senate and the Congress that give us an update on the shutdown. I had some of the leaders of the No Kings march this weekend, had them on. Had really good shows this weekend. I did one show from Chicago, where we had Congressman Jackson on, and dealt with what they're doing at the ICE detention facility there in outside of Chicago in Illinois, and also had on a Catholic priest talked about how they would not even allow them to serve communion to the detainees. I mean, where does human rights kick in? They can't practice a religious level of that, so absolutely watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton. I tell you, I will not waste your time. 5 p.m. Eastern Time every Saturday and Sunday. And then again, don't forget the Saturday Action Rally. Every Saturday, had a great rally Saturday at the House of Justice in Harlem, 145th Street and Lenox Avenue, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I tell people all the time, if you live in New Jersey and in Newark, New Jersey, Jersey City, wherever in Jersey, or in Connecticut, or in New York, and haven't been to a Saturday Action Rally, then something ain't clicking with you putting some action and some movement behind your words. You're just sitting on the stoop complaining. O.G. Kelly saying, I see O.G. on the live stream message board saying Politics Nation is the only show I will stop watching football for. Now that's a statement, because I know how some of us are about football. Well, I'm honored. And again, make sure you watch and support it, the Saturday rally. If you're not in the New York area or the New Jersey or Connecticut area, you can watch it live on Impact Television, the rally, or at nationalactionnetwork.net. So a lot to talk about today. Let me also say that part of the reason I was in Chicago is I went to see my mentor, Reverend Jesse Jackson, check on him, and he's holding on, still suffering from Parkinson's, had a lung infection which caused concern, so that's why I wanted to go. And then yesterday evening, I spoke and introduced Abby Phillips. Many of you see her show on CNN. She's written a book on Reverend Jackson's 88 and 84 and 88 campaign, and the book is excellent book. It's called A Dream Deferred, Jesse Jackson and the Fight for Black Political Power, and I was glad to be a part of the ceremony last night, the reception last night, and we celebrated the book. Abby was there. I spoke, introduced her. Both Reverend Jackson's two older sons spoke. Congressman Jonathan Jackson, who I had on Politics Nation, and former congressman and about to be congressman again, I think, one and only Jesse Jackson Jr. and Santita spoke. So it was, I grew up in that family, and it was glad to be a part of those proceedings. All right, let's get ready to go to the phones and continue to read your messages. Kevin Gray says, thank you, Reverend Al Sharpton, for everything you do for the people. Well, thank you. Happiness. Coach Donut says, lung infections, get well soon, Reverend Jackson. He looked stronger than the last time I saw him. Still can't speak or walk. But I spent some time with him and his wife. He did not make the event last night, but he seemed happy to know that his legacy is being upheld with the book and with his sons and daughters and me. And it's going to continue that way. All right, let's go to the phones. Let's start letting it out. Letting it out is Hot Button Monday. Let's go to Ira in Washington, D.C. Ira, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hey, Brother Al Sharpton, thank you for taking my call, and your team put me in first because they know when I call, I got something to talk about. This is what I got to say. I'll give you 5 minutes on the low end. I got a problem. The Cheeto chief in charge, number 45, and that's what Reverend Waldron knows him by, the Cheeto chief, the orange chief in charge. He comes in here and wants to deliberately stop the food supply for poor people, which is including white people as well, but basically minorities. He wants to stop that on November the 1st. I get it. It's all a part of a program and a process to keep them and not having nothing so they go out and steal and do things and cause this alleged National Guard Gestapo thing to get enacted. That's what it's all about, really. People got to remember that. So, like they said, if you got food stamps, whatever you're getting up until November 1st, go to the store and burn them up and take all the food you're going to get and hold it and stockpile it, because he's going to make it so you got to go out and steal, rob, and kill people. That's the first thing. And I don't like that. And then I heard an article about this ICE raid up in someplace in Chicago where they pepper sprayed people holding babies in their arms in strollers. And in stores, they go in there and did pepper sprays on people, which is illegal. And none of them didn't have cameras on to show why and what reason they did it for. It's just a part of the 45 regime to do craziness and get away with it because nobody challenges them, and they have nobody to do checks and balance within that organization. And that's the whole thing why they fire everybody. And the last thing I got to say is this. That military person, that black guy that retired, just retired, he's been there for 30 years. He retired because Pete Headshake, or whatever his name is, him and Trump got together and he decided to retire or go out because he seen something was wrong. They had him going out bombing up ships in Venezuela, not knowing what in the world's going on. Didn't know he had a real idiot having them bomb stuff he had no real knowledge of because the chief and commander 45 Orange Cheeto said bomber. So therefore, he left out on his own recognizance, and they're going to try to pin that on him and say that he was responsible for that craziness. But there you go. It is what it is, brother.
All right, thank you for your call, Ira. And he's talking about, it was the top military commander, Admiral Alvin Halsey is his name. He announced early retirement. Four-star admiral, head of the U.S. Southern Command, 37-year Navy veteran, stepping down after less than a year in the post. His sudden retirement follows the reported disagreements he has on these raids they're doing, saying they're taking out drug dealerships out of Venezuela. Apparently, the Admiral Halsey, one of the few black top military admiral commanders, said, "Not me." All right, let's take a break. Be right back. I'm going right back to the phones. Keeping it real, keeping it real, keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
want to thank you personally for writing a foreword to this book, Reverend. I wanted to write a book that was different from the many books that have been written about my dad, which I'm ordinary
Talk about when your father was here, King. Lee Jesse. When he came to go speak at the UN, he said, I'd first go to Harlem to see those that fought for me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we keep it hung up in the house.
It's a great photo.
I want to thank you personally for writing a foreword to this book, Reverend. I wanted to write a book that was different from the many books that have been written about my dad, which I'm ordinary
Talk about when your father was here, King. Lee Jesse. When he came to go speak at the UN, he said, I'd first go to Harlem to see those that fought for me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we keep it hung up in the house.
It's a great photo.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. It's Hot Button Monday. You can call in, and the call line is jammed, so I'm asking people that call in to say what you have to say and try to be respectful. There are others waiting to talk. I want to get to everybody. Try to limit yourself to 2 minutes. Don't make me have to cut you off. Because I want everybody to have a chance, and I want you to have a chance. You're on the message board. I'll see you, and and I appreciate you. Happiness Donut says to OG Kelly, the major network showed a less attended rally on the other side of town versus the one in downtown Milwaukee that had thousands of attendees. Media has to do better. Yeah, I understand there were some discrepancies in some of the media attack in terms of some of the media coverage, and we ought to call them out on that. Let's go to Angela in Cleveland, Ohio. Angela, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
How you doing, sir? I am want to keep it real. First, I want to thank you for trying to lead us out of this mess that Donald Trump got us in. First of all, you mentioned Jesse Jackson. I got a chance to meet him in '84. I owe him an apology. If you can extend that apology, I got a chance to escort him to the phone, and I never took him back to the foyer to meet the people. We was at Rockefeller's mansion in Cleveland, Ohio. Steve Rogers only. Tell him I truly apologize. That's been on my spirit since it happened. But God, back then, his thing was push meant people united to save humanity.
That's
and I
right.
tell you, I got a love for people. Look, right now, but God told me in 1984, this time push means pray until something happens. We the people, we got to come together, y'all, as a human race, open our mouths. Donald Trump is pencil whooping us, and if we don't say nothing, won't nothing get done. Earl Sharpton, you understand the high side of it. I'm coming for the people. And the people, I ain't talking about no black folks, I ain't talking about white folks, I'm talking about Christians, God's children. The human race gonna have to come together and whoop this man. Sit down and write a petition. How a person with 34 felonies gonna tell somebody else with a felony they can't get a good job, and he got the best job in the United States? I got two nephews trying to get back into society, and they can't get back in, people, because we gotta say, I'm gonna start a petition, y'all. Y'all need to start a petition in every country, city in the world, and let's pray this man up out of here, because he's too smart. God gonna shut his mind down. At 2 o'clock, everybody get together, take a moment and pray. We're praying for understanding, Father God. We're praying that the people to come together as a human race and get this man off the map, because he's too strong for anybody. God gonna shut his mind down, people. We got to come together as the people. The power is in the people. We the people of the United States. In order to form a more perfect union, we got to establish justice, people, and come together and stand up for what's rightfully out.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you. I thank you for that. Keep going in that fervor, that energy, that drive. That's what we're going to need to do this. We up against a steep hill, but we can drive ourselves up to climb that hill if we keep our energy right. Let me go to Don in New Orleans. Don, you're keeping it real on Hot Button Monday with Al Sharpton.
Reverend Al, I hope that next time you talk to Reverend Jackson, give him a big thank you from all of us and the people of this United States and the world for all of his work, and also along with Ambassador Andrew Young.
Yeah.
You give both of them big hugs and thank you for the people. I know millions of people would love to stand in line and hug them and just say thank you for your service. Because last Saturday, me and my brother accompanied my 97-year-old dad to vote.
Wow.
Lifetime union member, 97, we took him, we rode with him to vote. Still want to drive the car. But nevertheless, I have two quick points. You know, this new... The governor of Louisiana signed a deal to build the largest data center in the world in the rural area. 2,200 acres, approximately, this data center would be, about 70 football fields. But that pales in comparison to the size of the Louisiana State Penitentiary.
Wow.
18,000 acres. 18,000 acres for
Wait a
the Louisiana State Penitentiary.
18,000 acres to build a new penitentiary?
No, it's not new. It's already there. Louisiana, y'all call it Angola because of the Angolan people who was on the plantation. It's Louisiana State Penitentiary. It encompasses 18,000 acres. And the data center will employ about, they're talking about 200 to 500 people. The Louisiana State Penitentiary employs 5,000 people and have up to 6,000 inmates, citizens. So don't be fooled and bamboozled. The reason I say that because of this debt, this is my closing comment, this U.S. debt is at 37 trillion. There's been reports on the great wealth transfer over the next 2 decades, about $125 trillion. So we're talking about 36 trillion in U.S. debt, and they're talking about cutting Social Security, Medicare, Affordable Care Act on the backs of the working poor, and yet we're talking about a great wealth transfer of $124 trillion, and we're talking about a $36 trillion debt. We have 1/10 of 1% of the wealth in the U.S. is congregated in the 1/10 of 1%, and about $30 trillion is in the 1/10 of 1%. That's about 14,000 families. So our math ain't mathing, Reverend Al. So we have to get together. They want to shut this, get the government back open. Let's be fair and get our fair share of the American pie.
And I like where you say, thank you for your call, Don. I like where you say our fair share, because we don't just want some crumbs. We want the policies to secure people's health, secure senior citizens, secure Medicare and Medicaid, and the business opportunities as well as employment opportunities all at the same time, because that's what we're paying for. Let's go to Jacob in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, WURD Word. Jacob.
Peace be unto you, Reverend Sharpton, and your worldwide audience, man. You know, I'm listening, but you know what, to your people, man, let us not go crazy because we see crazy things coming from this administration. This administration, top to bottom, they're crazy people. And please don't think that we're going to get anything but crazy from crazy, right? And I say keep our eyes on the Epstein files. Now, we see what happened in England, right? Where, what is that, the prince over there, they can call him, he lost his dukeship and all that stuff because of his friendship with Epstein, right? So if we think that we're going to look at, that's why they don't want us to see the files, because they know that Trump is in them worse than he is, and he had to give up his dukism and all the titles that go along with that royalty. So
yeah, they just made Prince Andrew give up his title over the weekend. I was reading.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Why? Because they found out that he was real close friends with Epstein, and I don't think nobody was closer friends than Trump. So that's why they're not releasing it. But we got to keep our eye on that, and we got to keep doing what we see being done. I mean, one of the scriptures say you can't serve two masters. See, it's either going to be the truth or a lie. The thing is going to be good or bad, or it's going to be right or wrong. And the demonstrations that these people are showing is that they don't want the king because, first of all, the king is crazy. Even though he got clothes on, he's crazy. And anybody can't see that. Well, they blind, and we're going to pray for them, right, Rev?
I thank you for your call. I appreciate your call. And I think you're right on point there. Let me go to Disco Brian, my man in Philadelphia. Disco Brian.
Rev, I timed it out, so this is 2.5 minutes. I'm going to try, okay? I love this new design of your YouTube. I love this new design of your streaming service. You are looking as sexy as your brother Don Lemon now, and also I'd like to see y'all do more stuff together. I'd love to see y'all do more stuff together.
You got the whole staff here laughing at that. All right, go ahead.
Well, it's true. I'm just saying, Don Lemon has some friends that I don't think deserve him, like some Pod Save America clowns. Anyway, I was here in Morristown, PA, rallying for democracy at No Kings. It was great, but March on Wall Street, I'm not going to be petty, but March on Wall Street, for me, was much more soul-nourishing for all kinds of reasons, okay? But it was great. Anyway, Lindsay and I both watched The Dirty Work and half of Loudmouth this weekend. Sheer brilliance.
Wow.
I want to welcome back Tyrone. That brass section in the Change Choir Band this week, man, it was like Billy Stewart meets Count Basie. It was outrageous. It's gorgeous. Rev, my deepest condolences to you on the passing of Reverend Dwight McKee. He sounds about as heavenly as yourself. and I'm with you there. I love you. I'm so sorry. And I also want to acknowledge something. I'm sorry, Rev. I'm trying to get it all in there. I also want to acknowledge something. Well, oh, okay. Oh, jeez. Sorry, Rev.
Go ahead. Just go
I
ahead.
want to say something. Tragic murder of my neighbor, Kadra Scott, who will be memorialized tonight in Germantown by Representative Andre Carroll. Germantown is grieving, and we're holding her family in prayer. I'll talk to you later, Rev. Love you.
Thank you for the information. Thank you for the consultation. And I'm glad he mentioned, I hope a lot of you watched the documentary on MSNBC on Andrew Young, and it was fantastic Friday night. Then he said he played Loudmouth behind it. That's a documentary came out on me 2 years ago. It's still on Showtime. Watch those documentaries. You see the struggle that we have gone through and still going through, which is why we can't give up. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
Breaking news. The issues, the stories affecting you. Now here's the news from News1.com.
It's Sybil Wilkes with what we need to know. Millions of Americans joined No Kings protest across the country this weekend. Demonstrators marched in cities including New York, Washington, D.C.
To thank you personally for writing a foreword to this book, Reverend. I wanted to write a book that was different from the many books that have been written about my dad, which I'm almost very
When he came to go speak at the UN, he said, I'd first go to Harlem to see those that fought for me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we keep it hung up in the house.
It's a great photo.
To thank you personally for writing a foreword to this book, Reverend. I wanted to write a book that was different from the many books that have been written about my dad, which I'm almost very
Me, Jesse. When he came
Yes.
to go speak at the UN, he said, I'd first go to Harlem to see those that fought for me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we keep it hung up in the house.
It's a great photo.
Amplified Voices TV, AVTV.
On October 14th, I moderated a town hall in Atlanta, Georgia at the Clark University with former Ambassador, former Mayor Andrew Young, MSNBC's Rachel Maddow, and John Hope Bryan of Operation Hope. And it was around the documentary coming out that was produced by Rachel Maddow around the life and times of former Mayor, former Ambassador Andrew Young. He's 93 years old now. Never really wanted a high-profile position in civil rights. Went into politics after Dr. King was killed. Said Dr. King said in their last conversation at Harry Belafonte's house, you ought to go in politics. And he went into Congress. And from there, went in to be ambassador and mayor of Atlanta. Brought the Olympics to Atlanta. Unsung heroes, people that are not household names nationally, maybe in their cities, but not nationally, are people that paid the price in the movement. And when I watched that documentary, how he was beaten literally by whites in St. Augustine, Florida, how he planned and strategized, and Dr. King had given him different roles. He was the negotiator. He was the one that tried to deal with whites, while Hosea Williams and James Bevel and others were the ground crew that confronted and marched and went to jail. There is no one way to be an activist. So how do you determine effective activism? By do they get results? Do they raise public awareness? And do they use that awareness to win cases or win laws and make a difference? So Andrew Young's documentary talks about how one man decided to do the dirty work. That's what they called it. Because in this fight to clean America, sometimes you get your hands dirty so that a nation can become clean.
Amplified Voices TV, AVTV.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. You can go online to nationalactionnetwork.net. Leslie Jennings is saying on our shout out, our National Action Network live stream page, our message board, she's saying shout out to Suzanne Labard, who encouraged Andrew Young to run for mayor of Atlanta. You're right, Leslie. We need to know these stories. Well, with all of this going on, as many of you saw the shows last night, I did from Chicago, Politics Nation, night before from D.C., talking about the shutdown. That continues. I can tell you, flying to Chicago and back, people are very concerned. Flights are all messed up and all. And, but even more than just flights, people not getting paid. Don't know if they're going to get paid, how they're going to get paid, what's going to happen, what's going to break the deadlock. Same time, we told us a ceasefire in the Middle East. Then we hear that there's fighting going on. They killed some in Gaza, killed some in Israel. Now they're going back to the ceasefire. A lot of foolishness in the media, but these are real lives and real situations. Then, of course, the huge marches all over the country. No King's March, and a deranged answer to it. The president putting up a video of him with a crown in a jet pilot cockpit, coming down in one of those planes, fighter planes, dumping human waste on the marches. I mean, has no class, no kind of stature that would compliment being president of the United States. This is how he responds to protests. So to really get down to where we are and how we need to deal with this legislatively as well as in our community, I kick off every week with the Democratic strategist and founder and CEO of Blueprint Strategies, LLC, Antoine Seawright. Antoine, how you doing today?
Well, it's good to be with you always on a Monday, and America is being tested on every hand.
Give me your update on where we are with, and I had breakfast this morning. I got back very late last night from Chicago, but I still got up, worked out, and had breakfast with Congresswoman Strickland from the state of Washington. Was in town and wanted to meet. And I asked her her favorites in the Congress, and she said, Remal, you got to watch Steve Horsford. I think he's going to remain a national force. And you got to watch Congresswoman Brown out of Ohio. She said, you know her? I said, I know her well. I watch her closely. I just figured I'd share that with you on the air. I said it's on there. And I told her then that you do the show every Monday. And she said, oh, yeah, he's one of Clyburn's guys. She said, I know, I listen. if I'm not in Seattle, because we're on in Seattle. She says I can get it online. So I want you to know you and Congresswoman Brown and Horsford got a fellow member of Congress in their case and someone that's watching y'all. I'm glad. I'm always taking inventory on the next generation, see who's coming up, can they hold it up. So I figured you needed to know that publicly.
Well, I appreciate always being heard and valued, man, because the opposite is not good.
Yeah. Well, you go get a lot of the opposite as you go. Believe me, I know. Where are we with the shutdown? I mean, at one day or 1 hour, I should say, it looks like there's no end in sight. Then you get others saying that we might be able to work it out. You're the man with your hand on the pulse right there in D.C. and around the country. How do you forecast where we are with this shutdown?
Well, I think the only thing that's going to move this shutdown from being a shutdown is going to be pressure. And I think that's starting to ramp up on the Republican side. I think folks are finally dialing into the fact that they hold the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And as I argue on this program all the time, the courts. And I think they also see the gamesmanship being played by the Speaker, Mike Johnson, as well as Leader Thune. I think we've done a great job of pushing back on the lies about, undocumented immigrants receiving ACA benefits and undocumented immigrants showing up in hospitals. We've pushed back on that. So now this new lie is about COVID funds, and we all know that the Inflation Reduction Act was passed in 2022, where these ACA incentives were extended as a part of the reconciliation package, and millions of Americans, including 76% of Republicans in red states, enjoy these incentives. And so I think that's starting to break through. You have some places around the country where, and this is where the pressure point kicks in, are receiving those notices, and they see the dramatic increase in their premiums. So I think that is what's ultimately going to move the needle with the Republicans and Donald Trump, the public sentiment. On the flip side of that, we are running into a real tight spot in terms of SNAP benefits starting to run out in the next week or two.
Yeah.
So that's going to clog the wheel. And then on the other side, there are some agencies who are not going to be able to pay their bills, and that's going to impact red states. And I think that's also going to have some hardship going into the holidays.
Wow. Well, let's keep our eyes on that. Let me go to the phones. Let's go, my dear friend in Chicago, Illinois, the beloved Miss Eunice. Miss Eunice, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton and Antoine Seawright.
How are you today, Rev?
I'm all right. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I was thrilled to see the outpouring of the people, and it can't be just a one-day affair. We have to stay on it. You can't stop. And let us all pray for Reverend Jackson, because he has paid his dues.
Yeah.
And, yes, and Rev, I would just like to say the Democrats need to put emphasis on the fact that Trump is president, and he has no desire to sit down and talk with the Democrats or Republicans in an open session. Now, he has his henchmen to carry out his orders, Bundy, Patel, Johnson, and Vance, and he spends time flying to these other countries, or they are coming here with no real results. If he spent as much time trying to get something done as he do on the golf course, maybe could get somewhere, and all this at the taxpayers' expense. And Argentina, can you believe he's asking now for the people to buy Argentina beef to offset our higher prices? This man goes from one thing to the other, and let me move on and let someone else get on.
I think, thank you for your call. I think you're absolutely right. Antoine, when Miss Eunice talks about the whole sacrifice, I think of, like I said last week, Monday I'm in Atlanta moderating the fireside chat on Andrew Young's documentary, and sitting there on the stage with him, 93 years old, still lucid. Rachel Maddow is executive producer. She's on the panel with me, and John O'Brien. Then yesterday, the coming out of Abby Phillips' book of Jesse Jackson's 84-88 campaign, and I spoke at that opening last night, visited Reverend Jackson afternoon. He wasn't well enough to come to the opening, but big turnout. And I think about how we are standing on the shoulders of people that paid a tremendous sacrifice for Andy Young to be there when Dr. King did Birmingham, did Selma, and he was the one negotiating and keeping them out of jail, and to go from there to Congress, to UN ambassador, to mayor of Atlanta, brought the Olympics in at a time that we just had broke the color line. You got to remember, you have to deal with the time in which they did this. It's against the law to do things in Atlanta till 65 Voting Rights Act, against the law all over the South. And within 5 years, he's the congressman and the mayor. Then Jesse Jackson coming in the 80s, getting 7 million votes and changed the rules of the Democratic Party. When we look at this, it tells us we have no excuse to handle people like Donald Trump. They went up against institutional, entrenched, racist bigots and giants and won. And we are dealing with somebody who is not that smart, not that good, and somebody that we've already defeated, Antoine. We beat Donald Trump in 2020. How are you afraid of somebody you already beat? All you got to do is figure out how you beat him the first time. And I think a lot of us have been cowered into being afraid because some of us just have fear anyway. We're just too scared to stand up and be counted.
Well, part of it is I think we've lost focus on the mission. And we've gotten comfortable with progress, but now we're starting to realize that progress is not permanent. The other thing I think that your point you made in the intro of your comments is that there's been strong nutritional value in the shoulders we stand on and the work they've done. There's no incentive to provide that sort of muscle mass or muscle memory by the next generation, and I think that's why we're losing our why and our way, and that's why, you know, you and I having this program and opportunities we have to engage, hopefully we can repair some of those bridges and strengthen the relationships between the generations so that we can be yet another example of how it's supposed to be and what needs to be done.
And there must be willingness on both sides of the generation. The older must be open and give space to the young to develop and share with them advice. Don't try to make them your clone, but just that they will bring the same fight and battle into their generation and do it their way. And the young has got to be willing to be giving wise advice and tell you better watch these pitfalls on the way. Because the struggle is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not going to end with me, and it's not going to end with you. Let's go to break. Keeping it real. Sharpton, see right. We'll be right back. Keeping it real.
Who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of he is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are, and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of the stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that called me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
Al's growth, to me, is upon the fascination to watch him. Say Al Sharpton.
Al Sharpton.
Today is not who he was. He's a living leader. He's changing. He's growing. If you're not growing, your eyes may be wide open and your mouth, but you are the walking dead.
The walking dead.
see. When he came to go speak at the UN, he said, "I'd first go to Harlem to see those that fought for me."
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we keep it hung up in the house.
It's a great photo. Yeah.
Five Voices TV, AVTV.
On October 14th, I moderated a town hall in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Clark University with former Ambassador, former Mayor Andrew Young, MSNBC's Rachel Maddow, and John Hope Bryan of Operation Hope. And it was around the documentary coming out that was produced by Rachel Maddow around the life and times of former Mayor, former Ambassador Andrew Young. He's 93 years old now. Never really wanted a high-profile position in civil rights. Went into politics after Dr. King was killed. Said Dr. King said in their last conversation at Harry Belafonte's house, "You ought to go in politics." And he went into Congress. And from there, went in to be ambassador and mayor of Atlanta. Brought the Olympics to Atlanta. Unsung heroes, people that are not household names nationally, maybe in their cities, but not nationally, are people that paid the price in the movement. And when I watched that documentary, how he was beaten literally by whites in St. Augustine, Florida, how he planned and strategized, and Dr. King had given him different roles. He was the negotiator. He was the one that tried to deal with whites, while Hosea Williams and James Bevel and others were the ground crew that confronted and marched and went to jail. There is no one way to be an activist. So how do you determine effective activism? By do they get results? Do they raise public awareness? And do they use that awareness to win cases or win laws and make a difference? So Andrew Young's got Keeping it real. Keeping it real. One man. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Keeping it real. Antoine Seawright is our co-host, kicking off every Monday. Antoine, before I go back to the phones or to our message board, I want you to break down to our listeners and viewers, those that are watching this on live stream, what exactly is the irreconcilable, is the word I'm looking for, irreconcilable odds between the Republicans and the Democrats in the Senate and the House to get the government back open? Because I think a lot of people here, well, it's about health care, well, it's about this, that, that. What exactly is the difference between what the Democrats want? Because Democrats have basically said that the Affordable Care is going to expire, people are going to be rendered with higher premiums, some are going to lose health insurance. The Republicans have said something altogether different. Break down in what Prince used to say down south where you from, bring it down where the goats can eat it, so people understand what is at stake and what is the different positions.
Rivers would say, put it where the hogs can get it. So I'll try my best to do that. But this fight is essentially about the extension of the Affordable Care Act tax enhancement credits. What those tax credits do, which was put in place by the Biden-Harris administration, is simply offset the amount that you pay every single month, which ends up being your yearly premium for your health care coverage. For an example, if you are a family making $88,000 to $100,000 a year, most likely you're on the bronze plan. Now, the name of the plan varies from state to state, but in South Carolina it's called the Bronze Plan. That means you're paying roughly $300 to $450 a month per person for health care insurance. If those enhancements tax credit benefits expire, which they are set to expire at the end of the year, your premiums, co-pays, and deductibles will likely move up, or not likely, it will go up to about $1,800, $2,200, and in some cases, $2,400 to $2,800 a month, from $350 to $450. Now that's just on the premium side. That does not include the co-pays, deductibles, and so forth that you have to pay. The other argument, or the other part of the conversation that Democrats are wanting to have, is the mere fact that if they let these tax credits expire, and you add that to what they've done in the big ugly bill, which put $1 trillion cut to Medicaid, a $540 billion blow to Medicare, which has resulted in 1 in 4 nursing homes will close. You're going to have community health organizations, community hospitals closed. You're going to have about 30,000 rural hospitals or rural access points to health care closed. And then, Rev, on top of that, you're going to have this blow into Medicare, which impacts our seniors. You add to that the largest cut to SNAP benefits in American history, what they did in the big ugly bill. Most of that in the big ugly bill doesn't kick in until after the 26 midterms. So they did that on purpose. So the fight we're having right now about keeping the government open, you hear Democrats say health care, it's about extending those tax credits. Why is that important, Rev? That's important because in most states, insurance notices are already starting to go out. The marketplace opens up on November 1st. That means if you were used to paying $300 to $400 a month for your health insurance, your new premium preview is going to say something around $1,800 to $2,200 a month, and that's what this fight is about. This fight is simply extending the Affordable Care Act tax enhancement credits. And it's ironic they don't want to extend those tax credits when they just gave a permanent tax cut to the billionaires and millionaires in this country, Rev, which I found it to be ironic.
Let's go to Cleveland, to Demetrius. Demetrius, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and C-Wright.
Hey, thank you, Reverend Sharpton. Good speaking to you and Mr. C-Wright. I'll be brief. First, I want to speak. The Senate, Donald Trump, and he want to bargain peace between Israel and Gaza, and also with Ukraine and Soviet Union. That at the same time, start a war in South America with Venezuela. He bombing ships when he don't have no proof that those ships that he bombing, killing people who have drugs on it. It's just something he's saying. So it could be innocent people losing their lives because of the bombing. And also, I believe, by he's trying to build up the Defense Department, calling it the War Department, he's anxious, to try to flex the United States military power, on different countries. Venezuela, and now he want to somehow start some conflict with Colombia, because the Colombian president spoke on and said that the ship that he bombed off the Venezuela coast might not even had any people carrying drugs on it. So to me, it's just someone, the president of this country, he want to be a war hawk, but he don't realize the world is more complicated than it was, years ago, because a number of countries now have strong militaries, and also they have access to nuclear weapons, or they can get the allies of countries that have nuclear weapons. So the game he's playing is dangerous, for the American people and for the soldiers who have to go there and risk their lives. And also, he want to take away funds for Colombia. But you got to realize the history of many countries in South America. They was exploited, by the United States and by the European countries. With the labor, many of their citizens died in the mines, digging for different minerals, or in the forest, cutting trees for rubber. So a lot of them suffered. So the money that is be given to them is a form of reparation for the lives they lost, and also for the military taken away from going back, with the Spanish, when they went there in the beginning, and native people there, but also slaughtered and died from disease. And also, I would like to speak concerning, Donald Trump pardoned Soto. That's a bad example as well, because when he said he pardoned Soto just because Soto is a Republican, he okaying anybody to do anything corrupt in this country as long as they're Republican and they agree with him. Then what he don't agree with him, he's not going to show them no type of justice. There's another number of people incarcerated, were falsely incarcerated, or they work to change their life around. Well, those people are not considered for a pardon. But he's saying anyone who agree with him, they can get a pardon from him. So that set a bad example for the penal system. It set a bad example for the American people, because he really instigating a culture of hate and also a culture of crime. Because he just pardon people no matter what they do, as long as they back him, encourage them, feel they have a ticket to get out of whatever they're doing, especially within the cities, the inner cities, because people in the cities have to realize, they can build different businesses. They don't have to resort to crime. I think that's on the way out. Could just put more people to penitentiary, and also cause more deaths within the city. So we have to open our minds and don't feel like we are depend going back to a plantation system. We have to be independent and build our own businesses, and also claim what was rightfully ours from the government through legislation, and also through protests, and also through the court system. But we can't follow bad examples what Donald Trump is setting, because he's setting a bad example for all Americans. That's why we have so much crime now. And he's not anyone standing in office. He's showing a higher moral.
Well, he certainly has lowered the bar. I mean, at this point, I don't know how anyone would have thought just a few years ago you'd have someone convicted of 34 felonies, convicted of sexual harassment, found for fraud in his businesses, and then turns around and pardons a guy and suspends restitution to the victims he did with wire fraud. I'm talking about George Santos. You can't lower the bar much lower than where it is. The question is, can we lift this nation back up? Let me take my break. Thank you for your call. It is Hot Button Monday, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton. See right. Be right back.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-617-2458. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-617-2458. That's 800-617-2458. Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people.
If you need up to $5,000, go to WeFixMoney.com. WeFixMoney.com is the name you can trust. It's free to use, available 24/7, and you are never required to accept any loan offer. Some lenders offer same-day funding. If you need up to $5,000, type WeFixMoney.com directly into your browser. WeFixMoney.com has been helping customers for 15 years and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. So, if you need cash for credit card bills, car repairs, child care, or anything else, go to WeFixMoney.com. Make sure you type WeFixMoney.com directly in your browser. Go to the company you trust, WeFixMoney.com. Just fill in the information and get an answer in minutes at WeFixMoney.com. For up to $5,000, go to WeFixMoney.com. That's WeFixMoney.com.
Sharpton anyway. Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
Racial discord, a blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I
a race
had to
baiter.
learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that called me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do.
Right is our code. Let's go to Ray in Cincinnati, Ohio. Ray.
Yes. Hey, Rev. Thanks for taking my call. A couple. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Yeah. When your guest was laying out what the Republicans are fighting for in the shutdown, either Republicans don't know about it, they don't care, or just don't give a you know what. And I'm thinking a lot of Fox News and the right wing media, they're not telling their viewers and their listeners what your guest just laid out. So I'm wondering, do they even know or even understand what this shutdown is all about? And I'll let him explain that after I get off. But I'll say this: I never knew Andrew Young was that important to the movement. That was a good show I saw. And one of his comments was, I think when Stokely Carmichael, he was getting upset, Andrew Young was narrating. He said, "You can't get mad and angry. If you do, you're not strong. You're showing weakness." And that kind of resonated with me throughout that show. But I never knew he was that important to the movement even before Martin Luther King was assassinated. So that's food for thought. But there was a caller here on the Buzz this morning. He had mentioned, will the momentum keep up? You know, with what we saw, 7 million folks out protesting no kings. And then I called in. I said, Trump is like, he's like the guy that keeps on giving. You know, it may not be the King movement, you know, next February or March or April, but it'll be something that the folks will get rally around. So he's just a gift that keeps on giving. But if your guest can actually kind of like, and I don't know if he knows or not, what right-wing media is telling their folks, because it's a common sense thing. This healthcare is common sense. If you're paying $300-400 a month, why would you be okay paying $1,800 a month? That doesn't resonate with me. So if your guest can explain that, I appreciate it.
Antoine?
Well, thank you, sir, for your call. I'll sum it up by saying it's easier to be angry than it is informed. They do not want to make this about health care because 79% of the American people, including the conservative polling, agree that we should expand the Affordable Care Act tax enhancement credits. And I said this on Reverend Al's show a few weeks ago on the TV program on Politics Nation, but 18.2 million people in red states receive those benefits, 5.8 in blue states. 76% of those who receive those subsidies are in places that Donald Trump won. I think Texas, Florida, Georgia are the biggest 3 states of the recipients of those who own those enhancement tax credits. And so they're not going to say that. What they want to make this conversation about is not the Affordable Care Act and the tax enhancement credits. They want to make this about Obamacare because it's a demonizing issue, not the message, but the messenger. And so they want to bring the Obamacare label back into it because, as we've seen from some of the research over the past several weeks, and it's embarrassing to say this, Reverend Al, but there's still people who do not think there's a difference, who think there's a difference between the Affordable Care Act and Obamacare. We've asked in focus groups, if you lay out, do you like not being able to get off your parents' health insurance until you're 26, no pre-existing conditions, no cap on premiums, all the things that came along with the Affordable Care Act, they say, yeah, we love it. And then you say, well, what about Obamacare? Oh, we hate it, because they don't know the two. And right-wing, especially Trump voters and the Republican majority, are playing into the ignorance of those voters, and so they want to make this about Obamacare. If you notice the language they're using on conservative media, whether it's TV, radio, or podcast, they're not saying Affordable Care Act. They're saying Obamacare, Obamacare, Obamacare. And that's the reason why they're not having a numbers conversation. That's why I said it on Reverend Al's program, Politics Nation. I said it on CNN this past Friday morning, and I'm going to say it every chance I get.
I think that's powerful and correct. And I think that it is it is one of the reasons why we must have a real impact and control and say so of media. Because the reason why a lot of their people are not getting it is because they're not being informed. Their media blinds them. They watch Fox, they watch Newsmax, and their media won't give them the facts. Let's go to Joseph in Baltimore. Joseph.
I don't think he's listening.
I don't think you're listening, Joseph. Let's go to Janet in Baltimore then. Janet.
Hey, hi, Reverend Sharpton. I hope everyone is doing well today. Just want to first say that I went to 2 marches yesterday, and they were very inspiring. They were, especially the one at Penn Station, so many young people there. They outnumbered the seniors. They outnumbered us, which was a good thing.
That's
But
great.
the one that I usually go to on Sunday was even more massive. So that was great. But I know that with this insurance thing that people are saying, why don't the Democrats tailor their message and say, look, Obamacare and affordable health care are the same thing. Look it up. Just tell them if these dummies still don't get it. You know, instead of trying to keep saying the same thing over, just tell them what it is, what they don't know. And maybe that's the problem, that they just don't know. They're so convinced that what Trump is saying is true. But also, I'd like for the Democrats to start emphasizing that if Medicare and Medicaid and all of them things go up so high that nobody can afford it, it's going to affect private insurance as well. So it's not just us who will be losing the ability to get health insurance. It's going to affect them because the insurance company going to get their money from somewhere, and if they can't get it from us, they're going to move over to the private section and really gorge them, which theirs is already really, really high, you know. One thing that maybe will never come out, and maybe the Democrats just don't want to touch it, but I've been listening to a lot of things about how Trump ended up winning. I know they don't want to talk about him stealing it, but between the purging, which I thought was the main thing that they did, just dropping people from the rolls, but now I'm finding out that in Florida and Georgia, people who registered like at the end of the summer, September, October, November, they didn't even process their application, so they never got into the system. And when they tried to sue about it, the Supreme Court said, okay, if they don't have the money to do it, they don't have the money to do it, and they let them go. So, I mean, it seems more and more like this man didn't win on his own. He won with a lot of help from different states.
He sure did. I think, thank you for your call. And a real high tech, I'll put it that way, a real high tech misinformation campaign. And I think that one of the things, Antoine, and I give you credit for the generations coming behind, the younger generations that have wrestled with and tried to get people in my generation and the generation ahead of me to deal with, is messaging has changed. We've gone from just television to television and cable television to not just that, now to social media. And you've got to bring your messages down to where people can understand it and deal with it in 30, 60 seconds. People ain't going to listen to a long diatribe. They're not going to listen to a long monologue. You've got to hit it. We're in the TikTok era, and they've been able to use that. That's why I think that Charlie Kirk was effective for them, because he knew in their TikTok generation how to talk to young people. The information I didn't agree with, but the method we needed to be able to duplicate, and that's why people like you've got to be in position, because you've got to be able to speak to your generation. To come out here, you know, guys that are still walking around with flip phones ain't even in my generation, but they are still walking around with flip phone and don't understand why they don't get Instagram. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. See right. Be right back. Yeah, for the
write a book that was different from the many books that have been written about my dad, which are about Nelson
When he came to go speak at the UN, he said, I'd first go to Harlem to see those that fought for me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we keep it hung up in the house.
It's a great photo.
Who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you're very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They called me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
Al's growth, to me, is upon the fascination to watch him. Say Al Sharpton.
Al Sharpton.
Today is not who he was. He's a living leader. He's changing. He's growing. If you're not growing, your eyes may be wide open and your mouth, but you are the walking dead.
The walking dead.
Meant to justice.
And I'm probably going to need your help on this legal fight. You know, they shorted the historically black colleges and universities to the tune of about $13 billion, and Tennessee State was the one they shorted the most.
Absolutely. Well, let me know. I'm on the next plane as soon as you holler. You know, when Ben Crump called, I don't even question it. I just head to the airport and get the details on the way.
Live from the National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York. Keeping it real. It's Hot Button Monday. And now, America's #1 civil rights leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Let me go to the message board, and I saw I was getting ready to go down, yo. Yeah, I'm trying to, I know they're having some keep going. They're having some AWS problems, but there was one, okay, James Thomas, that's the one I'm looking for. James Thomas wrote on here, I saw a video on X where Rashida Tlaib was telling folks about health care and other things on what's going on, and they literally blasted her for saying, of all of this mattered, then where was she in 2024? And I think that what James is saying there, and James follows up saying, democracy, I'm not surprised at all about that. I think that what James is saying, Antoine, is that a lot of us that were saying, yes, there's some deficiencies, shortcomings, less than perfect, whichever way you fall in the category of describing with where the Democratic Party was at this juncture last year, that things like health care, things like right to vote, that we're looking at the Supreme Court looking at Section 2, things like where we're dealing with deportation to where they're snatching American citizens off the streets and holding them without cause. All of that was more important to try and block that coming in. You could vote offensively for Kamala Harris or defensively to stop Donald Trump, but let's stop him. And a lot of purists would say, no. We want it all our way or don't vote, or all our way or we don't want nothing. And the cost of that cynicism is what cost us that election. I'm not going to get up off of that. And you know, I've got some friends in the far left. I'm probably considered left of center myself, but not far left. And I'm not getting off of that. That Kamala Harris, lost by 1.5%, 1.5%. That 1.5% was tempered by a lot of people that claimed they were so far left that don't vote at all, and they elected Donald Trump. I told people on this show, I told people on MSNBC, whether it was my show or Morning Joe or Deadline, I told people in pulpits across this country and rallies that you can cop out and play purist all you want, but they're going to have an election with or without you. And whoever wins is going to be the president, with or without you. And here we are, Antoine.
So, Rev, a few observations. And I subscribe to the Jay-Z notion, nobody wins when the family feuds. So I'm going to try to stay centered here. But ironically, you mentioned the Supreme Court. You know, we're dealing with this right-wing activist court who has a 6-3 majority because of the 2016 election. And it's funny to me how in the 2016 election, some of the same expressions or sentiment was expressed towards then candidate Hillary Clinton as it was to Kamala Harris. And then the impact of the 2016 election we're feeling in 2025. We're feeling the residue of the 2024 election right away on top of the 2016 election. And some of those same names that have been mentioned express the same sentiment, and some of the same pieces of the Democratic puzzle had the same kind of reaction to our candidate and did not want to wholly unite around a cause. And I keep saying every chance I get, Rev, no matter the differences we may appear to have amongst each other, they do not compare to the differences we have with the other side. The caller or the observantist, if you will, observationist, mentioned Rashida Tlaib's name. I think it's important to know that there was a Gaza Nothing campaign in Michigan and other places where she represents. I think her sister was a paid actor in leading those efforts in some cases. And so I think that people who are power drunk and looking for attention may not understand the impact of their words and their deeds in the moment, but generations of people feel the result of when we do not unite behind a common cause. We have absolutely nothing in common with Donald Trump and this modern-day Republican Party. There's not one single thing we agree on. But here's what we should always have agreement on, Democrats, that on the core issues, and yes, we've got to get back to talking about issues, our issues are more united around us as a common good than we will ever be with the Republicans. When they campaigned on Project 2025, that should have been a uniting point all by itself, Red. Forget about anything else. Project 2025 should have been the cornerstone of why we need to be strongly united as Democrats.
Well, I think you're right. And see, I think the only way we stop, well, not the only way, but certainly one of the most effective ways that we stop this foolishness is we need to bring it out. Doesn't mean we throw anybody under the bus, but it means to say your misjudgment hurt us. Now let's stop that. Like you said, quoting Jay-Z about the family, nobody benefits or prospers when the families fight. We cannot have this because they take advantage of this. The Republicans all have different views on Donald Trump. I've talked to Republicans that know this man is one step from crazy, but he brings through their agenda. And we want somebody to be in step with us, perfect with whatever we say, like it's a cult, rather than dealing with the political process. And that is what put us in this predicament that we're in. We got to fight our way out of it, but we have to be very honest how we got here. Some of our friends had a behavior that helped the opposition.
Well, Rev, I do want to say, I want to give you credit where credit is due. Now, I'm not saying this because I need anything from you, but I'm going to give you credit where credit is due. You've been very clear over the years. You may have your differences with some within the Democratic Party, but you're going to unite behind the common good. And I want to thank you for being consistent, not only in the media, but also in your personal capacity and every other capacity that you have been able to, or privileged to serve in. You've been very consistent, and I think we need some more consistent voices in our party and in this country if we want to have trusted messengers and people to trust those messengers.
Let's go to Anthony in Maryland. Anthony, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and Seawright.
Good afternoon, Doc. Appreciate you. Always a pleasure, Reverend. And I'm definitely going to keep it real. I have 3 points to make. One, we got to keep it real and understand we live in a misogynistic, racist society, and everybody, the majority of the population is going to vote for a white man over a black woman every day, any time of the day. We lost to Trump the first time when he was running against Hillary Clinton. We lost to Trump the second time when he ran against Kamala Harris. And the basic bottom line was that you have misogynistic, racist individuals, even amongst ourselves. My barber voted for Trump. I stopped going to the barbershop because he was talking about he was going to support Trump over President Kamala Harris. So that's the main issue we got to address. And everybody got to have a come to Jesus moment on discussing that.
Yeah, I do not, I'm going to let you finish, Anthony, but I do not think we ought to underplay the misogyny that I heard and saw demonstrated. And I was going to rallies around the country and said to people, you don't believe that women can do anything. Anybody in here that got here without coming through the womb of a woman, stand up. And I still haven't found nobody that jumped. So how you going to say what women can't do when women brought you here? But that ran deep in our community. I think Anthony's right. Go ahead, Anthony.
Okay, secondly, there's a lack of cultural consciousness, commitment, and collaboration within our community, meaning we don't transfer information and knowledge from generation to generation like a lot of other organizations and a lot of other cultures do. You know, we're not teaching our own children. We're allowing the government to teach our children. When my young son was growing up, I took time, energy, and effort to make sure I taught him. But to additionally make this point, he had a doctor who was volunteering in his elementary school, and my son is 30 years old now, who was from Iran, but she claimed she disguised it another way, saying she was from Persia, which is Iran after Persia. But anyway, she made sure her kids went to learn how to speak Farsi every weekend, no matter what. The Jewish community does it. They teach their kids their languages. They teach their kids their culture. You have the Asians teach their kids their culture. We're not teaching our kids our culture. The only thing they're committed to and connecting with is sports and TikTok. We got to take time, energy, and effort to transfer the education, culture, and knowledge from one generation to the other. Even the Asian Indians, they have 2 or 3 generations living in the same house. So you can't miss that cultural connection. You know, you had a young man on earlier that he didn't understand how important Andrew Young was. I'm like, really? He a grown A man.
Yeah.
Then,
all right, got to go. Thank you for your call. Let's take a break. We be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, see right. Be right back.
Breaking news.
personally for writing a foreword to this book, Reverend. I wanted to write a book that was different from the many books that have been written about my dad, which about
When he came to go speak at the UN, he said, I'd first go to Harlem to see those that fought for me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we keep it hung up in the house.
It's a great photo.
Who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you're very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that called me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion. He didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
Al's growth, to me, is upon the fascinating to watch him. Say Al Sharpton.
Al Sharpton.
Today is not who he was. He's a living leader. He's changing. He's growing. If you're not growing, your eyes may be wide open and your mouth, but you are the walking dead.
The walking dead.
First, I want to thank you personally for writing a foreword to this book, Reverend. I wanted to write a book that was different from the many books that have been written about my dad, which about Nelson
When he came to go speak at the UN, he said, "I'd first go to Harlem to see those that fought for me."
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we keep it hung up in the house.
It's a great photo.
Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Antoine Seawright is our co-host, and a lot is happening. I know they're having problems on the internet, but I'm seeing our message board, people getting through, and I see a lot of our videos. They had the video when Nelson Mandela's daughter brought her book to National Action Network's House of Justice, did autograph signing there. And we've had everybody from Nelson Mandela's daughter, Winnie Mandela, to Mrs. King. We put up the video 25 years ago. The video is up where Mrs. King introduced Martin III now and said she's passing the baton to us. We've been out here a long time. Having these giants gives you an awesome responsibility. This ain't no ego trip. This is for real. It's a mandate you wake up with every morning because God put people in your lives of that kind of gravitas. And if you don't live up to it, I don't know what it will mean to you in the long run. Just like Antoine, there's no accident Jim Clyburn's in your life. Man. These are historic figures. 50, 100 years from now, they'll be talking about a man named Jim Clyburn who wielded that kind of power and created a president of the United States. If you take that lightly, it's not because it's light, it's because you are lightheaded and can't really deal with the depth and weight of the time you're in. You know, and I think that people need to be held accountable for that. That's why I agree with the caller as we were getting ready to go off saying we need to pass this on from generation to generation and let them learn that because that's what they do in every other generation. Let's go back to the phones. Let me go to Rachel in Brooklyn, New York. Rachel.
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I could be doing better, but I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for asking. Rev, I've been to, NAN. I've been to the House of Justice, and I've spoken about deed theft. And I'm listening to everything everyone is saying.
Spoken about what?
Deed theft. Deed theft.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And everything that everyone is speaking all around the nation. And thank you for your show and this platform. It all comes back to owning land. When we don't own our own homes, when we don't control where we live, all of these things happen to us, all of these atrocities. And everything you just said and the caller before you went on break talks about how we need to pass down what happened to us to generations, the younger generations. Somehow the younger generation forgot about all the things we've been through. And they're, TikTok and influencers and thinking you're going to get fame through rapping or football or athletics. No, it's more than that, Rev. They're stealing our homes in Brooklyn. And if everyone could go to Instagram and look at Stop Deed Theft, if we just took 5 people that are going through what they're going through, that's about $5 million. Every time black people own their own homes and about to do something, then comes, intimate domain, where they have to take the land. They need a highway. They need this. And we don't have anything. We don't have generational wealth. They're stealing our generational wealth. They're erasing our past. They're dehumanizing us. 2 million black men in this country are incarcerated. Rev, all of these things are tied together. Stealing our homes, incarcerating our men. What say-so do we have?
And see, let me say this, and I appreciate what Sandra's saying, and they have been in the House of Justice, and we really, really don't deal with that as a central issue of home ownership and generational wealth. And one of the things that I think that is so missing, when I was growing up in Brooklyn, Sandra and Antoine, you go down President Street between Kingston and between New York and Brooklyn, let's say in Kingston. And the big preachers at that time all lived in them 2 blocks. Reverend Gardner Taylor, Reverend Sandy Ray, Bishop Washington, Reverend Bill, and on their homes. And it gave me a sense of that's what we need to be. Now we are not projecting that. So it not only do we not have generational wealth, it devalues the self-worth we feel as an individual. Because young people, if you grow up in a situation where you don't feel you're of value, then you will not do things that will enhance that value. Go ahead, Sandra.
And Rev, can I say one thing, Rev? Even Queen of Four is a victim of this. Her daughter and I, we're the founders and co-founders of Black Homeowners Preservation Coalition. When they are stealing our homes left and right, I got in big trouble because I spoke with Curtis Lewa. And it went on Instagram, and I got in big trouble because I said the Jews are stealing our homes. And the people who are taking our homes, happen to be Jewish people, happen to be caught on camera doing it.
But they're not only Jewish people. They may be some in some areas.
Everybody, but the majority of people doing it.
But that's where you gonna back up on your own cause, because then they'll say you're anti-Semitic. The cause is dealing with our home. The cause is dealing with our homes, not trying to put it, because I can tell you where people of different communities are doing the same thing, and there are some Jews that would fight for us and with us. I think we got to raise the issue, so be real careful they don't put you in a box so they can duck the issue. But thank you for your call. Let me go to Sandra in Baltimore. Sandra.
Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon, Attorney Scott.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Rev. How are you? I am losing this operator. How are you? I want to thank you again. I know a lot of people thank you. Reverend, I am now in military, and what I did, trying to help people, is everybody's being furloughed and laid off, and everybody's having it hard. Winter is coming. I am having a coat drive for children. I am right in Baltimore City, close to the schools, social services, child protective services. So I'm having a coat drive to have distribution of the coats on the 22nd of November. I'm not asking for money. It's not anything for profit. I'm only trying to help because I see the need around me. I'm not only using, I don't really want to use your platform as advertisement, but it is really because we have to do something.
How do people that want to help you get in touch with this drive? How do they get the information?
My address is 1625 North Cabot Street, and my telephone number is 443-687-1005. That's 443-687-1005. I advertise as affordable notary and document signing.
All right, thank you for your call. Let me go on to James in Atlanta. James, let me take my break. I'll come back to James and more of you on the phone. Keeping it real, Sharpton. See right.
Reverend Bernice, that's my baby. It's great to see all of you here today, 37 years later. And it's so good to see those of you who were here on that day on the platform, many of you, and those of you who came back even 20 years later when we celebrated the March on Washington for the first time. In 1963, the March on Washington was held, and there was a legislative agenda, and it was to pass the Civil Rights Bill. And I remember the chanting that took place all between the speeches: pass the bill, pass the bill, pass the bill. In 1983, it was for the passage of 12 legislative agenda items, but the main and the focused one was pass the bill for the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. And Walter and Joe Lowry and others who were here, and Joe was a co-convener of that march along with myself and Ms. Dorothy Height. We had over 750 organizations that joined on. And then in 1988 and 1993, those of us in that generation came back. But today we have a new generation that is coming forward. And you know, I am just as happy as I can be to see these young people, younger people, men and women coming forth to take the torch and run with it. And that's what they are doing. And this march is about racial profiling. And I am so happy to see that Martin Luther King Jr., Martin Luther King III, some people say Martin Luther King Jr. III, Martin Luther King III and Reverend Al Sharpton
has taken on this enormous task, and so many of you who have come to support them, particularly those of you in my generation, Reverend Wyatt T. Walker. I mean, start calling the names.
I'm in the other generation.
Oh, you in the other generation.
He's so old, he done had 2 names in one lifetime.
But those of you younger people out there today, I know that this will be a great inspiration to you as well. I'm not going to try to tell you who these young people are. I'm just going to say a few words about Martin III and then about Reverend Sharpton, because they will come to you in that order. As you know, during the March on Washington, the children were very young. They had to be. Martin III was about 5 years old. And I didn't bring him that day because I did not know how it was going to be. You know how you sometimes can't figure out what to do about how your children are going to be taken care of you, especially when you are up front. But I regret that very much, that I wasn't able to bring him. He was only 5 years old, a little bit more than 5 years old. But he certainly didn't ask for this position as the 4th president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. I remember how he agonized when he was asked to take it on and almost did not take it. But I want to say that he has taken it and he has worn the mantle very well. And I want to commend him as a son and say how proud I am of you, Martin. And when he and Reverend Al Sharpton joined hands to conduct this demonstration today on racial profiling, I was so happy to see this, because he is another young man who worked with SCLC when he was a very young man, and he directed, I believe he was about 11 years old when he directed the youth director of Operation Breadbasket in New York City. And to see them today here warms my heart, because indeed the future of our leadership is in good hands, especially with all the others who are here in support of them. And I want to ask first that Martin Luther King III come forth, and then Reverend Al Sharpton. These young men have done an outstanding job, and we need to continue to support them. I will be there with them, even though I may not be able to walk all the way, but if I have to go in the wheelchair, that'll be all right too. I'll be there. Thank you. God bless you. Martin III.
Merry Christmas, the Nan Way.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, the Nan Way.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, the Nan Way.
Merry Christmas, the Nan Way.
Hey, Merry Christmas from the House of Justice.
Merry Christmas, the Nan Way.
Merry Christmas, the Nan Way.
Merry Christmas, the Nan Way. Merry Christmas from the Nan family.
Morning, coming from the National Action Network. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas and a healthy and prosperous New Year.
Merry Christmas to all of the members, volunteers of the National Action Network.
1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Don't forget Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturdays and Sundays. And got two good shows this weekend. We're covering the No King's March, dealt with the shutdown. And I was in Chicago, did the second day show from Chicago dealing with the deportation. I had the priest on that was stopped from serving communion to detainees. Had Congressman Jackson on. And I had our U.S. Senator from Delaware on. I'm not going to waste your time. So make sure you watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton every Saturday and Sunday. And Senator Rochester was excellent on the show last night. Also, don't forget, you that are in the New York area, New Jersey, Connecticut, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally. I'm there every Saturday at the House of Justice in Harlem, 145th Street and Lenox Avenue, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the House of Justice. You that are not in the New York area, you can watch it live on Impact Television, the only black-owned national gospel TV network. Or you can watch it on live stream on nationalactionnetwork.net. All right, let's go to Percy, my man Percy, labor organizer extraordinaire in Detroit. Percy.
Well, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for taking my call. And you have had a powerful past week, man. I mean, y'all's conversation today, man. Y'all hitting the nails with the hammer today. Y'all hit so many nails since you've been on today. Y'all could build a house. a points that y'all hitting on that's important, you know. And I just want to make this statement: all this energy we got is good, but it's important we take it to the ballot box.
That's right.
You know. And this is why we're in this situation, because we got to realize the power that we have as citizens, and why it's so important that we be focused on the agenda and stop being falling for the okie doke. So, Mel, I've seen you in the Democrat Party being able to go in the halls of Congress and get policy, right?
Right.
Because they at least listen to you, and they will work with your agenda. So, people, why do you think he's not in the halls right now? Although you would go in the halls of Congress if you think they would listen to the policies that you asking for. So the fact that the Republicans have the trifecta effect, and they have the power to change any policy, and they can make any rule, any policy, because they have a party trifecta. If we had a party trifecta in the Democrat Party, we would be doing policies in place that would help lift up the people and serve the needs of the community, and stop beating up the Democrats. Get in the Democrat Party, because and make the change that they need to be more effective. You got to start getting in the seats and being in the halls and being in them rooms where they're making the decisions on stuff that they're saying that we need for our community. And you can do that in the Democrat Party. You're not getting that in the Republican Party.
That's right. There's no doubt about it. And you know, Antoine, I think that you can give us, thank you for your call, Percy, you can give us an apt description better than most of just the party change from majority Democrat to majority Republican, ends the access, ends the ability to even represent some things. Talk about how the climate change there, just with one party in majority as opposed to another, including how the speaker decides the legislative agenda.
If we would have done our part in last November, we would have had Kamala Harris as president, Tim Walz vice president, Greg Meeks, black man from New York, would have been chair of foreign affairs.
we would have had Benny Thompson, Chair of Homeland Security, Maxine Waters, Chair of Financial Services. We would have had perhaps a chair in the Agriculture Committee. We would have had that many chairs just representing CBC members representing the committees that actually pushed the legislation through. That would have been a sea change, not only for the Congress, but for the country. And just think about what we've been able to prevent and what we would have been stopping. We would not be in a government shutdown. There would be no discussions about the Affordable Care Act. There would be no discussions about the big, ugly bill. We would have been doing things to build on the progress that we made under President Biden and President Harris. But instead, we're having to try to defend and protect with alligator arms tied behind our back because we have very limited ability or tools at our disposal to stop what's happening in Washington. That's why these elections are so important. And the caller mentioned about the importance of policy. Look, no more policy will be decided in the short term than these elections of November of this year. 130,000 seats on the ballot, predominantly black mayors on the ballot, 21,000 school board races, statewide races, New Jersey, Virginia, a state court seat in Pennsylvania, and others, Proposition 50 in California. This is going to determine in the short term how well or how not well our democracy will ride forward. That's why in next week, or this weekend, the early vote starts in New York. It's already starting to pick up in Virginia, New Jersey, starts here in South Carolina and across the country, these municipal races and so forth. They are so important in the short term for us to engage in policy discussions that touch us at a very hyper-local level.
All right, and that's the real deal. Let me go to Derek in Maryland. Derek, you're keeping it real, Sharpton and C-Rack.
Thank you, Reverend. Appreciate it. And your co-host definitely spoke truth to power there, because politics begins locally.
Right.
You can't be involved with your politics locally. You don't even have a chance of being a part of the national situation. But the point I want to make is we have two hot spots in the world as it relates to war. We have a third hot spot that people aren't even speaking of, and basically the United States is trying to provoke Venezuela into actually initiating something such that we can go to war with them, because everybody doesn't even know or aren't aware of the billions of barrels of oil that Guyana has discovered off their coast. Venezuela is trying to claim that oil and saying that the forest that separates Venezuela and Guyana is their land, and the land extending out into the water, that oil belongs to them. At this point, as we presently speak, the United States has F-15, F-4 aircraft protecting that area because you have Sunoco, BP, Exxon, Mobil already down in that area, waiting to try to capture this oil that Guyana has found. Now shooting these drug trafficking boats, that's a piece of cake. They just send a message to Venezuela. You can start this if you want, but the real deal is the oil that Guyana has discovered, and people need to keep an eye on that, because that's going to be a hot spot that's going to start to burn very soon.
All right, and I think you're right about watching these hot spots. And I think what bothers me, Antoine, too, is a lot of times we watch things in the news like he just mentioned what's going on in Gaza, what's going on in Ukraine, what's going on in Venezuela. Like we watching some drama. This is real life. They're shooting people, as he said, provoking a battle with Venezuela. You're talking about in our hemisphere. You're talking about our kids dying. You're talking about innocent people being slaughtered for no reason. We need to be on top of this stuff before it happens and not watch it like we watching a movie scene how it's going to end. It's going to end the way we allow it to end.
On this front, for us to tune in as Black Americans to the foreign policy conversations that's happening around the world, because eventually, it may not be in the short term like tomorrow or today, but at some point it's going to impact us. And that's why when we talk about the importance of election, having Greg Meeks at Foreign Affairs and having someone who's been battle tested like Kamala Harris at the Vice Presidency who can direct dial back to our community, these things are critical and important. And I'm sorry to cut the call off.
Yeah, but I think also we've got to realize the agenda is not always what they're saying. And when you look at the fact, when I looked at this whole thing with the ceasefire in the Middle East, gave credit to Trump, he got a ceasefire, that's a good thing. Now they're going back, having little skirmishes, and they're trying to keep it quiet. But the part two, phase two of that is what I said last week when they announced the ceasefire. That's going to be what's critical, because phase two is going to decide who governs and what is the governing body of Gaza, of the Palestinian state. If they can't agree to that, then you're going right back into war, and you are again disenfranchising the Palestinian people. Now, why are you worried about that, Reverend Al? Because I'm not one to forget that it wasn't too long ago that Trump talked about we could change Gaza into being this major strip, like a casino and Las Vegas strip in Gaza. He said this. So are you trying to get peace? Or are you trying to get a lay of land that y'all can exploit and make it the new Trump whatever? I mean, you got to look at all of this, but you can't do anything about it if you're not well placed. That's why, Antoine, you're right. Having a Greg Meeks there in Foreign Affairs, we would know what's going on and could stop and block a lot of stuff. But we are acting like we are watching a movie and don't realize we are in the movie. We are the ones that they're using as extras, and they will eliminate us if we quit playing games and not exert our strength. And I think that's the challenge today. Let me thank you, caller. Let me thank all of you that called in. Let me thank you, Antoine Seawright. Let me thank all of you that called in, listened in, you that came on the message board and we didn't get to your message, you that called in and we didn't get to you. I'm in tomorrow. Call us early so you can get your message across. And remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. I'll talk to you tomorrow.